Welcome to Creative Tien channel. Today we want to hand knit a lace hat. If you want to see the written pattern, you can check out my blog at creativetien.com. For the material, I use worsted weight yarn and a circular needle about 4.5 millimeter, and you will need at least 16 inches or longer for the magic loop. So we start with a ribbon in the bottom of the hat, and I start by cast on 80 stitches for average adult size. This lace pattern is a repeat of 10 stitches, so if you want to increase or decrease, you can add 10 stitches or minus 10 stitches. I just use regular long tail cast on for 80 stitches and connect it for circular knitting. I'm doing the 1x1 ribbon. If you prefer, you can use 2x2 ribbon. So for every round, I knit 1 stitch, purl 1 stitch, knit 1 stitch, and purl 1 stitch. And I knit about 10 rows of the ribbon before I start the lace knitting. After the ribbon, I knit 1 row of plain knit stitch before I start my lace pattern. The first row, I start with a yarn over. When we do the lace knitting, there's a lot of yarn overs to create the holes. And some pattern will have different description, maybe yarn forward or yarn around the needle. But I use yarn over here to simplify. Depends on the stitch before and after the knit or purl stitch. You might need different moves to manipulate the yarn to create an extra stitch. And also depending on the style you knit. The English style is different from American style of the knitting. It will be a little bit different to create the yarn over. And I'm just using the basic American style and call it yarn over for creating 1 extra stitch for the lace. In the first row, I start with yarn over, and because it's the beginning of the row and we are doing the magic loop, we have to make sure the yarn is in the front instead of in the back like when we usually knit. When we place the yarn in the front and we knit the next stitch, the yarn over becomes 1 new stitch. So for row 1, we start with yarn over and then knit 3 stitches. And then SK2P. The SK2P means slip the first stitch, knit 2 stitches together, and then pass the slipped stitch over, the SK2P. And then we have knit 3 again. And then the yarn over. Let's just place the yarn in the front to create a new stitch. And the last stitch is knit 1. And we keep repeating this for the whole row. So the row 1 again is yarn over, knit 3, SK2P, knit 3, yarn over, and knit 1. And for the second row and all the even number rows, we will do plain knitting. So you will be knitting for every stitch. And the tricky part for this row is the yarn over from previous row. Because it looks like just a yarn hanging on the needle, it's very easy to lose the stitch. So just make sure you knit the yarn over stitch. And the row 3 is the pattern row again. We start with knit 1, and then yarn over, and then knit 2, and then SK2P, and that's the same as row 1. Slip, knit 2 together, and then pass the slipped stitch over. And then we do a knit 2, and then yarn over, and then knit 2. So we keep repeating this. Again, it's knit 1, yarn over, knit 2, SK2P, knit 2, yarn over, and knit 2. And the plain knitting again, just like row 2. For the 5th row, we start with knit 2 stitches, and then yarn over, knit 1, SK2P, again that's slip 1, knit 2 together, and then pass the slipped stitch over. And then we will knit 1 stitch, yarn over, and then knit 3 stitches. So we do this repeat for the whole round 5. Again, it's knit 2, yarn over, knit 1, SK2P, knit 1, yarn over, and knit 3. For the row 6, it's knit all the way again. And for row 7, we start with knit 3, yarn over, SK2P, yarn over, and knit 4. And we keep repeating these few stitches for the whole row 7. And row number 8 is plain knitting again. So that concludes our pattern repeat. And we just keep knitting this pattern until the height we like. When it's about 7 or 7.5 inches long, we can start decreasing. If you don't want to knit the crown decreasing, you can just continue knitting the pattern until it's longer, maybe 9 inches. And then just thread the yarn to every stitch and tighten it up. You will have the bunched up look and it's more casual. After I finish the lace pattern, I'm ready for the crown decrease. And I start with about 3 rows of plain knitting. So I knit 3 rows and then I can place markers for the decrease. Because I already have A lace sections for the head, so I'm just going to separate into A sections by placing the stitch marker in between. And then I can start decrease by knit 2 together for the first 2 stitches of each section. So I will start with knit 2 together and then knit until the end of the section or until the next marker. And each round I will have 8 stitches decreased. And I will alternate with 1 round of plain knitting. So it will be a decreasing round and then a plain knitting round and then decreasing round and plain knitting round. And I will keep doing that until each section has 3 stitches left. And then I will take off all the stitch markers. And I should have 12 each on each side of the needle. So the total is 24 stitches. And the next, I can just knit 2 together. So it will decrease half of the stitches after I knit 2 together for the whole round. And after that, we only have 12 stitches left on the needle. Thread it through every stitch and tighten up to close the hole on the top. And then we can just sew a few stitches around the hole to secure it and hide the yarn tail in the back side and weave in the yarn ends. And then we are done with the lace hat. The difficult part about the hand knitting lace is following the pattern. It's very easy to make mistake and forget where you are. So you do need some time to concentrate, maybe take notes or mark where you are at the moment so you can keep track of the pattern. Next time I will try doing the hat on a knitting machine. That will be much faster to finish. Thank you for watching today. See you next week.